IVM.
Welcome to All Things Policy, a daily podcast by the Takshashila Institution. We are a bunch of policy nerds based in Bengaluru, and we like bringing fresh perspectives to Indian affairs and Indian perspectives to global affairs. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and join us for today's chat.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of All Things Policy. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the COVID-empowered groups that have been constituted by the union government last year after the national lockdown. However, recently the government reconstituted these empowered groups from 11 to 6, and these groups basically are set up to monitor and coordinate activities and responses to contain COVID-19 in the country, and each has been assigned different tasks. For example, looking at there are exclusive groups on oxygen availability, testing, vaccine procurements, and emergency response capabilities. So to give you a little bit more detail about this, an example of one of these groups I can tell you about is, for example, EG2 under the acronym of Empowered Groups. So this group looks into emergency response capabilities. Similarly, another group, EG4, looks at production and import and logistics and etc. But in today's episode, we will be specifically talking about EG5, which deals with vaccine acquisition and monitors the procurement and management, import and utilization of COVID vaccines across the country. So today, to talk about this further, we have with us Shambhavi, and we will be discussing 3 key recommendations in detail. So on that note, welcome Shambhavi.
Hey Amira, hello everyone.
Hi. So the first question I want to ask you is, can you tell us a little bit about our current vaccine strategy and how this is going in the right or wrong way?
Okay, so let's talk about how the vaccine strategy has panned out so far. As everyone knows, we have been a little slow off the blocks when it comes to vaccinations, and there have been calls of a shortage. There seem to be more vaccines in the private market currently than they are in the government sector. And there just has been a lot of turnarounds and U-turns that the union government has made in the past 6 months when it comes to vaccine deployment. One of the key characteristics I think that we have seen throughout our vaccine deployment has been a strategy to manage demand instead of increasing supply of vaccines themselves. So we saw that when the second wave hit really badly, India stopped all exports of vaccines that we were initially doing under Vaccine Maitri. We made calls on first prioritizing on the healthcare workers, then for age groups. Even then, at some point of time, there was this notice out that new healthcare workers or new frontline workers will not be now given vaccines from the union government. So there has been this running theme of trying to control demand, and somehow we seem to have miscalculated the demand that we would have required to have met. And I think this demand is independent of the second wave. I think the second wave kind of exacerbated the need for vaccines and the case for vaccine. But irrespective of that wave, we should have been focused on vaccinating as many people as we could. I think the original plan that the union government had put forward was to vaccinate about 300 million people by July, and we are nowhere close to that number. So that remains an issue. So while we had a lot of plans, we have just not been able to ramp up or acquire enough vaccine doses for distribution to even meet our own targets. And as a consequence of that, we have just spent time trying to manage demand instead of focusing on supply. The other strategy issue that we have seen is that strategies have just randomly changed over time. So initially the plan was that the union government will vaccinate everybody in the budget, which is technically passed in parliament. So that kind of allocated 35,000 crores for vaccines and more if required to vaccinate people. We had this set figure of 300 million by July that we were supposed to vaccinate, and the union government was supposed to lead this. And then suddenly in the middle, we see this U-turn being made where the union government now comes and says that no, we are going to vaccinate those over 45, but for everybody else, we will have state-driven procurement. They're saying it was the state which supposedly said that we want to buy our own vaccines, and that will now going to allow this under a liberal vaccine policy that states, private sector can also buy vaccines from vaccine manufacturers. Again, the problem there remains that we just don't have enough vaccine manufacture. Plus, there are issues with the states having to purchase vaccines, which I'll come to later on in this podcast. So that was the second problem that we've seen. And the third is that we have been very dependent on technology, which I think is right in certain areas, but not everywhere. For example, there have been massive issues with the CoWIN app, which is for registration and finding vaccines slots. We know that it hasn't worked very well in rural parts of India, where smartphone penetration is not very high, etc. So that has been one problem. And again, this has also been underscored by the fact that we don't have enough vaccines. So while we celebrated the fact that CoWIN saw a number of registrations, it makes nothing if you don't have the vaccines to have people registered on mobile app. So I think those three kind of very blanket policy issues have marred our vaccine strategy so far, and now is a good time, maybe slightly late, but still a good time to revisit and review our vaccine policy so far, and maybe start off fresh and see where we are at now in terms of infection, in terms of long-term plans for COVID-19, in terms of what other countries are doing, and then rethink a strategy from here on forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, as we all know and we've seen, many of us personally have felt, have experienced this, with 18 plus being allowed to get vaccinated, but there has been no vaccine. So many people have been confused, and there's clearly been a lot of bumps along the way. So I'm interested in talking to you more in detail about the recommendations to EG5 group, which deals directly with vaccine acquisitions. And right now, the most important thing in terms of our COVID management policy is to procure vaccines and meet supply and get enough vaccinations to meet our target. So now I want to talk about the target. So what is the target that we are looking at?
Right, so in the conversations that we have seen so far, the target seems to be about 2 billion doses to basically cater to our population, and double dose or single dose for those vaccines where single doses are sufficient. And we have seen that 2 billion figure for a long time. We at Takshashila actually also suggested a similar number back in August 2020 when we first wrote out a vaccine deployment strategy. And I think back then it made sense to have that number in mind, that we need to vaccinate 80% of India's population in a fixed time. So we had suggested December 2021, and that you would need 2 billion doses for this purpose. We still see that 2 billion number floating around, which I think is now might have lost its significance, because even though the government is very optimistically being saying that we are going to vaccinate everybody by December 2021, it is a little unlikely that we will get enough doses. I know there's a roadmap that has been put out, but I personally think that it is a bit optimistic. And so we have to now look at the long-term implications of COVID-19. There's already talk about a third wave possible. Other countries are also investing in getting doses set till 2023, because even if India vaccinates everybody by 2021, not all countries around the world are going to be able to do that, which means that the virus is still going to be out there, which means that the virus could still mutate and could still come back. So even if we vaccinate everybody, we are not out of the woods. And therefore, we have to think of longer than 2021 and vaccinating everybody in this one round. We have to think of at least 2 vaccinations and a little surplus. So we have to think long term till 2023. So I would suggest that we look at the 5 billion figure rather than the 2 billion figure. And also we have to remember that we have a responsibility to the world that we had owed up to them back in 2020, that we are the vaccine manufacturers of the world, and we will provide doses to COVAX and to all of these other countries which really require our help. And we started doing that through the Vaccine Maitri initiative, and then we have stopped. So it is not just about vaccinating our own population, but we do have that global responsibility towards other countries. So I think instead of us thinking again miscalculating the demand that we have and limiting it to within our boundaries, we have to think a bit more wider than that scope. So my suggestion would be look at 5 billion doses till 2023.
Yeah, I think, with a possible onset of a third wave and, it's already going to be a task to vaccinate our population because, not much percentage of our population has been vaccinated. And yeah, also, as you said, we need to take on the global responsibility as we did in 2020 of ensuring that we have enough vaccines not only to vaccinate our own but also the ones in other countries who have depended on us. So in this case, how do you think the union government and the states should divide up these responsibilities and ensure that they meet this vaccine target, and how can they fasten the process? Because there's also been a lot of loopholes in the coexistence and the coordination of functioning between the union and the states. There's been a lot of confusion even there. So how do we address this?
Right. So I think part of the confusion has also come from whose responsibility is health, right? And I've seen a lot of people say that, hey, health is a state responsibility. It's a state subject constitutionally. So why can states not handle this? But also we know constitutionally there is under the union list the idea that for public health diseases which cross borders, state borders, there is a role for union government. So it is not just the responsibility of the states to vaccinate its people. It is really the nation's responsibility. And I think it's also the union government's best interest to have the entire country be prepared for vaccinations and just even like normal public health measures for prevention or tackling future waves of this pandemic. When it comes to vaccinations, things we have to learn from what we have seen so far over the past year. It seems that the union government would have the best negotiating power when it comes to procurement of vaccines. They can aggregate the requirement across states, which means that they can make volume-based negotiations. They can provide the indemnity that vaccine manufacturers are looking for. They have the fiscal power to actually buy all of these doses that we require. So in that sense, it makes sense that the union government actually negotiates on behalf of the states and gets the vaccine doses that are required. But the distribution, I think, has to be state-led because it depends on a lot of local factors. States have a better understanding of what ground situations are, where the disease might be raging more, or what priority groups they want to decide and vaccinate first, etc. So that should be left up to the states. Because, for example, we're now seeing a lot of states vaccinating students who have got admissions to go abroad because they obviously need the vaccinations before they go, which I think is a really great step in building trust in our younger generations as well. So states should have that kind of flexibility to decide where to allocate doses based on their needs and their priorities, and to actually set up the infrastructure, set up distribution channels. And this is something we have been doing for ages. So by itself, it's not that difficult. But having states that flexibility will really make sure that every vaccine dose that is given is used in the most effective way it can be. So I think it makes sense for us to procure at the union level and deploy at the state level. And we have seen evidence for this, right? So when the union government said that states are now allowed to import their own vaccines, what we have seen is that both Pfizer and Moderna have said that we don't want to work with states or with the private companies, but instead only with the union government. We have seen a few companies show interest. We have had indigenously manufactured vaccines as well as Sputnik, which have answered to a few bids. But using this approach, we are then limiting ourselves to a few vaccines. And at this point of time, it is best that we increase our repertoire of vaccines to the maximum that we can. And if that requires an intervention from the union government, then the union government should just step up and say that we would like to procure all of these doses. The other factor that we've obviously also seen is the fact that vaccines are being differently priced at the union level and at the state level and then at the private market level. And the Supreme Court has also now come in and asked on why this has happened. This should not have happened. We should have a one nation, one vaccine policy. And obviously, vaccine prices are likely decided on volumes. And therefore, again, it makes sense for the union government to aggregate demand and negotiate one vaccine price for the entire country. And we go from there. So I think we have to learn the lessons that we've seen within our country happening over the past 3 months and agree to the fact that having central purchase makes more sense than having a state-driven procurement model. But having states decide on distribution will make sure that all doses that we buy will be most effectively used.
Yeah. And so now I wanted to really talk about the procurement of these vaccines specifically. So if we are to meet our 5 billion target over the next 2 years, irrespective of whether we have vaccinated our population or not, what we need to be seeing more of is increased purchase, as you mentioned, from the union government to vaccine manufacturing companies and also local manufacturing. So how do public and private players come into this, and how can they within our country more efficiently be able to deliver to this target, or at least help in accelerating the process of achieving this target?
Yeah, so I think I also believe 5 billion for 2023 is an optimistic target to achieve. But I think we can do it if we take steps right now. What we really need to do is get those agreements with the international vaccine manufacturers rolling. I think one thing we have to note is that most international manufacturers also have deals with other countries, which means that their manufacturing capacity is also locked up for a long time. And it's not like if we place an order for vaccines now, we will get it in the next 3 months or so. So we have to be prepared for that. One of the ways we've been discussing about getting getting stocks in the short supply is to use our diplomacy with countries which have over-ordered. So we know a few countries which have ordered at 5 times their population or 2 times their population and who are way ahead of us in vaccinating their target populations. Perhaps they could loan us a few doses for now, some of the excess doses, and we could return them in the next quarter, which is one way of us in the short term actually increasing the doses that we have. But that will take some bit of diplomacy to actually achieve.
Yeah, I think the US, correct me if I'm wrong, but the US has excess of stock. So we should also be focusing on procuring more vaccines from them,
right?
From
Yes.
from the countries that do have this stock.
Yes, and the US has sent us some stocks already, and I think there are more which are supposed to come up, be on their way. So hopefully that is one way of increasing our supply in the short term. But we can't just be thinking till the end of this year or till we have these 2 billion doses. We have to think beyond that. And therefore, there are two things we have to do. One is, again, to go back to the international manufacturer and procure and set up deals from now to 2023 and see how their capacity frees up and how we can actually get access to these vaccines. And the other is to ramp up local manufacturing. I think we are taking some steps for this now. There have been talks about repurposing some of our residual vaccine manufacturing capacities mostly held in our public sector undertakings to start producing vaccines. We know, for example, Bharat Biotech is using the Haffkine Institute in Mumbai to now produce Covaxin. But again, these things take time because the facilities have to be upgraded. It comes at a cost as well. I think Haffkine has got some 60 crore or 65 crore grant from the union government to upgrade its facilities. So, and it's estimated to take somewhere between 6 to 12 months to get all the regulatory clearances, upgrade the facilities, train the people to actually start vaccinating. So again, this is a long-term commitment, but it is necessary because we can't think about this only as a 2021 game. We have to think of it beyond 2021. And in that case, it makes sense for us to actually invest in building these facilities. The other thing we have to obviously think about when we are talking about vaccinations is that India has a commitment to produce a lot other vaccines than COVID-19 vaccine, not just for India, but again for global demand. And we can't stop doing those. So whatever additional capacity we need for COVID-19 has to come from external sources. We can't have Serum divert all of its facilities to creating the COVID-19 vaccine, because if we do that now, in 5 to 6 years, we will see a lot of other diseases then creep up because we lagged on vaccinations for those diseases now. And we've already seen part of this happen. We've already seen vaccinations by itself reduce over the past year as a consequence of COVID-19. And we can't let that be a long-term problem for us. So it is very, very essential that we actually use our residual manufacturing capacity, make the financial commitment needed to change those, technically upgrade those, whatever is required to get doses manufactured there. The other problem also here is the supply chain of raw materials itself. So the choice of the vaccine that you make, the raw materials that you need, are going to be very critical decisions we need to make over the next 6 months to ensure that there is a steady supply of vaccines coming through. The last point I want to make on this is obviously that when we think of vaccine manufacturing, we are also thinking data, and we are thinking that we really need vaccines that have been backed by good data. And I think one of the things that we would implore the government of India to do is release data on Covaxin and its efficacy in the large enough trial. So I think these are the things that we need to focus on and make sure that we have a plan to get those 5 billion vaccines by 2023.
Yeah, I think these are very important points that we need to consider on our long-term vaccine strategy, and we have a lot of responsibility to take on, so we need to act now. So thank you, Shambhavi, for discussing these key recommendations with us and telling us in detail about the vaccine strategy and how we need to go forward. So thank you for joining us again. It was great to have you.
Thanks, Amita. Thanks, everyone.
If you liked our show, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can tune into them on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also follow IVM on social media. The handle is @IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And hey, if you'd like to dive into Takshashila's research on technology, strategy, and economic affairs, check us out at our Twitter handle @TakshashilaINST or our website takshashila.org.in.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Cred, PayPal, and Syed. Thank you. We really do appreciate the support. So this week on Cyrus Says was great. We had Meghna joining us on Cock and Bull, Tanveer Taj and Priyanka Jena talking about pets. Huma Qureshi talks about her new television show and her life in Bollywood. And to celebrate 700 episodes on Cyrus Says, we had a number of his previous producers come on board and reminisce. Tune into This Round Is On Me, where Gauri Devi Dayal was joined by Samir Sheth and Yash Panage. These are the guys who started Bombay Canteen, O Pedro, and a number of other restaurants. Really great conversation they had with Gauri. On The Habit Coach, Ashton Doctor tells us about nourishing creativity and the importance of losing and some micro habits to counter overthinking. On their 75th episode, Ritasha and Rayushi talk to Naveen Richards. On The Note with Monica Nayat, she speaks with Komal Nahata to talk about the business of Bollywood, lockdown losses, piracy issues, and experiments being done to keep it going. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by Guru Bhatt, VP of Customer Success Platform for PayPal India, to talk about how the digital money landscape and the fintech ecosystem has fundamentally altered the world. We also have Thalarate, our Kannada podcast. Hosts Ganesh and Pawan discuss video games, and Sivakamyam Sabatam, the Tamil show where Kavita Jiva sheds light in another story about the bravery and excellence in the governance of the Pallava dynasty. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Namaskar, dear friends. My name is Ashish Vidyarthi. Life, as you know, is a journey. And you and I, travelers, how can we celebrate this travel? I have a podcast for you, Begin the Journey. I share stories and moments from my life. Do tune in every Monday and Thursday to listen to my podcast on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from. Cheers.